With 1 can of biscuits, you're halfway to homemade donuts. I have not done this in so long. This was one of my favorite go-tos for fun celebrations growing up. You know, when you're learning how to cook, you need to take a few shortcuts. It's more about cooking technique. And one of them was to make donuts out of biscuits. So I wanna share it with you. Just pick up any can of biscuits. You can do the flaky style, the home style, whatever your favorite is. You just need the dough basically. And here we go. We're gonna go through the fun part of. So here's what I do. If your tube doesn't open right away, still unwrap it, and then I just do a little, that's all you need to do. The regular tube has 8 biscuits. Just gonna get these separated out, line them up here, and I'm gonna punch out the donut holes. So I have this biscuit cutter set. It's just a ton of size options for biscuit cutters. If you don't have one of these, no worries. You can easily pick these up. They're pretty affordable and they come in handy for a lot of different recipes. If you don't have a biscuit cutter set, no worries. I'm sure you can find something around the house. This is where the problem solved aspect comes in. Get creative, find something. A screw top bottle, like a metal screw top sometimes works, or a plastic one from maybe like a soda bottle. You can find all sorts of things that are round with a slightly sharp edge to use as your biscuit cutter. And on this last donut, I'm gonna try a technique if you don't have a biscuit cutter or any other alternative. We're definitely gonna save these donut holes. Those are just as delicious. Fun little treat you can pop in. If you don't have any kind of cutter, go ahead and just poke a hole in the center. Do it more bagel style. You can open it up and there you go. You have your donut just like that. So let's get to frying. I have a countertop fryer here. I think it's really easy for a recipe like this. These can be really inexpensive too if you find on occasion that you're frying throughout the year. If not, you just need a simple skillet and about 1 inch or 2 of oil. If you're new to frying, I feel like a deeper pot is a little easier to work with than a shallow pot and you get all the splatter over your countertop. So go for something deep and then you just need a few inches of oil in there. Also, always have a thermometer on hand when you're frying. This is heated up to about 350. Anywhere in between 350, 375 should be good for this recipe, but definitely have a thermometer on hand. I like this situation because it has an indicator light to let me know when the temperature is right. Kind of like a waffle maker is all automatic. That's exactly the situation I'm dealing with. So whenever you're new to something, take a lot of the guesswork out of it. Make it easy on yourself. But there's lots of options for doing this recipe. So I'm gonna get these in. Let's test this out. Got some sizzle. The oil says it's ready. Now this goes pretty quick and I should be able to do pretty big batches in this container. So I'm gonna do 4 at a time, half the batch. 350, 375 is a good temperature. They only need few minutes on each side, maybe a minute or 2. You're really going for color here. Nice, even, deep brown color. So let those go. I just turned this up a little bit. I feel like we want a little bit more crispiness. This is so easy. If you are hesitant to fry, maybe start off with a smaller batch. You don't have to do a huge skillet. You don't definitely need to pick one of these up. Just get used to it. Use a small skillet. Start off with a small batch. See how it goes for you. You definitely want to make sure everything's at the right temperature. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong with frying. It's either the temperature's too low or too high and things don't come out right. It's all about temperature. You definitely want a drip tray. I just use a cooling rack over a sheet pan. You can just put some paper towels down if you don't have a cooling rack. This is definitely the best setup for this kind of job. If you are frying in a shallow skillet and you're getting some splatter around, one technique you can use, just lay some foil pieces out around. That'll help catch the splatter so you don't really have to clean it up later. I'm gonna let these go just a little longer just to make sure they're done in the center and evenly brown all around. Another handy tool you can use is a spider or little wire basket like this. It just helps to scoop sometimes, especially if you're dealing with a deeper volume of oil, but tongs work perfectly. Okay, that side is nice and deep brown. I'm just gonna give another second or 2 on that side so they're even and then get these out of there. I like to have my drip pan really close by so you don't make extra mess. But here we are, fluffy homemade donuts, and I didn't even have to deal with yeast or make dough, just the refrigerated section at the grocery store. Fluffy, beautiful donut. Those look really good. They're not quite done yet, so let's do batch 2. Get these in there. And then there's the one with my homemade hole. Let's see how well that holds up. It'll be fine. It'll give you enough of the feeling of a donut. Won't be a perfectly cut hole in the center, but hey, it's working out. It's doing well. So while those are going a little bit, I'm gonna put together a quick cinnamon sugar because I want that to be ready when I get the donut holes made. This is a no measurement process. I'm just doing about a cup of sugar, and then about a tablespoon to a tablespoon and a half of cinnamon. Ooh, might need more cinnamon. Like a lot of cinnamon in my cinnamon sugar. Gonna go in with a little bit more cinnamon, but experiment, play around with some brown sugar. You could do colored sugar, whatever toppings you want. Yeah, that's looking like cinnamon sugar right there. So if you're craving a homemade donut, or maybe you wanna get into your own donut making, maybe start with this version first. So you're used to the frying process. You could test out your different toppings and coatings, and then maybe pick up a donut recipe from scratch somewhere down the line. But this is such an easy method of a quick dessert, a quick treat. And I feel like it's kind of impressive. If you brought these to a little party or brunch, you'd be like, oh my gosh, those are so good. 2 biscuits. No shame in taking a shortcut. It actually could be more delicious sometimes. Well, one thing that would be really fun here, fry up some donuts and then set out a toppings bar. So different syrups, different sauces, different toppings, and have everybody decorate and do their own donut. Get some chocolate sauce or just melt down some chocolate chips. That's super easy. You can do that in the microwave. You can make a maple glaze really easily. I'm gonna make a glaze. You just add some maple extract to it or maple syrup to it, and now you got a maple glaze. Looking nice and deep brown on both sides. Oh, which one is the one I poked the hole in? See, it worked out pretty well. You don't really need the biscuit cutter if you don't really have it. It does make a nice donut to cut out the center, but if you just make a little manual hole yourself, it's perfectly fine. So these donut holes, they're really tiny. They're gonna go super quick, so I'm gonna plop those in. This is where a basket might be helpful. You can put these in the basket and then lower them in. Another helpful tool is just a slotted spoon, especially a long handle one. It's great for frying. Flipping, you just wanna be extra careful because you don't wanna plop anything down. You wanna be really gentle when you're flipping them around. Now I'm letting these cool. I'm gonna get my cinnamon sugar because those are gonna go right in after they're done in the fryer. This fryer makes it really helpful, so I'm not stressing out about the temperature. It's regulating the temperature for me so I can focus on the frying and not splattering and not making a mess of myself. Really does take a lot of the hassle out of stovetop frying, but definitely not necessary. Since these are tiny, these should cook through pretty quickly. I'm a meddler when I cook. I like to poke and move things around. Really, in the kitchen, you don't need to tend to things so delicately. You could just let it go for a little bit. Okay, these are gonna go right in. Make sure to get the excess oil off. Just drip, drip, drip. In they go, hot so they can soak up, and then toss these around real quick. These are gonna be so hot, I want one right now, but maybe I shouldn't. All right. Those are so cute. Look at that donut hole. Crispy. Move on to our glaze. So these should be kind of cool by the time you get the glaze on, so these are still pretty warm. My first batch is almost there. So really simple here, no specific measurements. I'm gonna start off with about 2 cups of powdered sugar. So I'm gonna start with about 4, maybe 5 tablespoons of milk. You can do a non-dairy milk as well, but we're basically just making a quick glaze out of this. So you're gonna mix this until that glaze starts to form. If it's too thick, just add another little splash of your milk. If it's too thin, go ahead and just add a little bit more powdered sugar. And I'm gonna do 1 more splash of milk. I'm gonna do just a touch of vanilla. And to balance everything out, a little bit of salt, just a small little sprinkle. This is the point where you can substitute some of the milk for a little maple syrup, or instead of vanilla extract, use some maple extract. There's tons of extracts out there, but there's our glaze. That looks good. So I'm just gonna dip these. You can drizzle this on, or you can do the full glaze. Let the excess drip off, put it down. Now you could do some of these cinnamon sugar as well. I would have tossed them in the cinnamon sugar from the start after they came out the fryer. Maybe I'll try one. This is a half glaze. Just let that run down the sides. Do another set half glaze. Those look so cool. You could add some sprinkles on top. It sticks a little better right out of the fryer, but still not too bad. You could also do a powdered donut. Just shake it in some of that powdered sugar, call it a day. Easy as that for a fun homemade treat, half homemade. That is a great looking donut, so cute. It's nice and crispy on the outside. Ooh, we got nice and fluffy biscuit on the inside. Look at that. Now time for the taste test. Can't go wrong with that. Sweet, delicious, a little bit of crispy texture on the outside, and nice and fluffy on the inside. And if you're worried these are gonna be like super greasy, they're not. If your oil's at the right temperature, the outside will get sealed, leave that grease outside of your donuts. These are perfect. What a fun little tasty treat. Imagine the possibilities for your own homemade donuts.